Hey friends, welcome back to a new video. I've now been going to therapy for about a year, and originally what sparked going to therapy was I was pretty unhappy with specific aspects of my life, and I also had some questions that I wanted answers to and just a few issues that I wanted worked out, and really hoped that a therapist could help me get some clarity in my mind. For those of you that are curious, I use the platform BetterHelp. This video isn't sponsored by them in any way, and I also did a not sponsored review of the platform back when I used it for about, I think, 3 months or so. So if you're curious, I'll link the video here in the cards. In this year of therapy, I learned so much. It really feels like night and day. It doesn't feel like it's only been a year. And not only have I had a real mindset shift in certain things, but I feel like I'm also so much more able to deal with specific difficult situations right now that I had a hard time with before. And yeah, I've just gained more, I guess, tools in my toolbox to be able to handle different situations and difficulties more efficiently and effectively. I wanted to share with you the few things that I did learn in therapy. Now they were pretty specific to me, but I thought I'd share them here with you because I think some of these tips or things that I've learned can really, or hopefully will be really helpful to some of you out there. And yeah, I've always been a big believer in therapy. Even before I kind of had that rough patch, I always thought therapy is something that will benefit anyone and everyone. I don't believe that there is anyone out there who doesn't have difficulties or things they're dealing with or issues where they could benefit from someone helping them just to sort out their ideas and figure out what's going on and just get to know yourself better. Now, this is not in any chronological order of the things I learned, just random, but the first thing I want to share with you that I learned is that presence is the answer to a lot of things, especially things like being stressed and having anxiety, having social anxiety, which are things that I dealt with. The answer is just, I guess, a lot of times just to be present. And I think being stressed or having anxiety or social anxiety, at least for me, was all about feeding this cycle of thought of, this is bad, people are judging me, I'm not going to be able to do this, and it's this negative spiral that you keep telling yourself. It's this narrative that you're perpetuating. But if you stop for a second and breathe in and breathe out and just try to be in the present moment, you realize that it's not, you try to distinguish fact from fiction. So the things that you keep perpetuating in your mind are often not reality. And when you come back into the present moment, you can better distinguish, okay, what is real? What am I just telling myself? And an exercise that my therapist taught me that I really like is to notice your senses. So 3 things that you can see right now. So for me, that would be pillows, a plant, and our loudspeakers. And then what can you smell? Now this is often a little more difficult, and you need to focus in more on your current surrounding and situation, and that really forces you to be present. So then you move on to, what do you hear? What do you feel? What do you taste? And once you've gone through all those senses, you realize you're so much more calm because you've taken away the power of that constant cycle of telling this story that isn't true most of the time. So number 2 of the things I learned is to either do something about it or just to let it go. So this might sound a little obvious, but when you're in the situation, you often don't have as much clarity, and it can be difficult to see the answer to things. So for example, if you have a friend that has treated you badly in the past and you realize you hold this kind of resentment towards them and you feel angry towards them and you want to kind of resolve that, all you can do is either to confront the situation. Now, I don't mean to confront the friend and be like, you did this and da 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 da, but to be like, hey, I feel this way because of maybe certain things that I feel like you have said to me. You confront the issue and you talk about why you're feeling the way you feel, or if you think you can't do that, or you don't think that will yield a positive result for you or for the situation in general, then all you can do is to accept that that is what happened in the past and you can't change that, and just to let it go. And I know that's definitely harder said than done, but if you don't do one of those two options, all you're doing is just wallowing in that resentment and negativity and anger, and that's only harming you and maybe even subconsciously the relationship in the friendship, because all the situation does is make you miserable, and that accomplishes nothing, and that is something I had to learn. The next thing is that parents are humans first. Now, you can extend this to any relationship, but I think a lot of us have this with our parents. We hold them to this really, really high expectations. We feel like they shouldn't do anything wrong. They should be perfect in a sense, and that is just really not realistic. Parents are humans first and parents second, and us humans, we're all just trying to figure out this life, and we're all just trying to do our best with the situation that we're dealt with. And yes, parents make mistakes. Children make mistakes, everyone makes mistakes, and I think a lot of times we hold these parents, though, really to this golden standard that is just really unfair to them, and it just makes us disappointed, and it's this unrealistic expectation that we have for parents. And speaking of expectations, I also learned that expectations most often just make me miserable. So I realized or learned through therapy that I have these expectations, these pretty high expectations for myself, for the day, for other people, for situations, for relationships, pretty much for anything. And I realized that if things didn't go the way I expected it to go, I would feel disappointed, feel angry, feel frustrated. But I realized that this frustration was only there because of my mindset. It was, in a sense, self-created frustration, and I tried to shift my mindset, and I tried to view it like, there's this analogy that I used in my head, is to see situations or things like a seed, a plant seed that I find and that I plant into soil and water and care for it, and whatever grows out of it, I will accept it. I won't sit there and be like, oh, this is going to be a red flower. If it's anything else, I'm super disappointed. That's just not something I would do. But then why do I do that with situations, with people? It's unrealistic to fortune tell. I cannot see the future. I cannot see how this day will unfold. So why put the day into a box, or why label it in a certain way? And if it doesn't go that way, then be disappointed. That's just not smart, I guess. But I was doing that. And I didn't realize I was doing it. And to this day, I still need to remind myself that, are you putting unrealistic expectations on this day or on people? And what does that result to? It just results to you feeling miserable. And that is, I mean, why would you want to be miserable? The next thing is that I had this expectation, I guess also an expectation of people, that people have to or should accept me the way I am, especially people close to me, so family and friends. They should accept me the way I am, and if they don't, then I try to change myself in a way that, or try to pursue their approval and their acceptance, or I was just really disappointed that they didn't accept the way I am. I felt like they should, but the reality is they don't need to, or it's not their job to accept me the way I am. Everyone has their values, their worldview. Everyone sees the world through their subjective lens, and I can't change that. It's not my job to change that, and I shouldn't expect people to change because of me. For example, I have a lot of prominent tattoos, and I know that my grandmother would not approve of this, and that's okay. She doesn't need to approve of my tattoos. It's not her job to approve of them, to accept every single inch of me, and that's okay. It's not my place to dictate what other people are to say and do. All I'm responsible for is myself, and everything else I can let go. Just be responsible for me. The next thing I had to learn and to distinguish is what is my stuff, what is my issue, and what is other people's issue and other people's stuff. So I know that when someone else is being rude or condescending towards me, it's most often not really about me, it's about what they're going through. For example, if someone were to comment on my weight, it most often has nothing to do with my weight, but to do with their relationship with weight in general. Maybe they're not happy with their own weight. Maybe they find weight to be something that is really important in their worldview. And that is something really helpful to keep in mind when we're dealing with people that are maybe rude to us or not very nice. But you can also turn this the other way around. So if someone says something that really bothers you, think about whether it has to do with them or whether it has to do with you. So for example, if you have a friend who is constantly praising their child and that really, really bothers you and you hate that she does that, think about, has this to do with her? Is she really one who is showing off, or has this more to do with you? Why does it bother you so much that she is really proud of her child? Is it maybe because you've never felt that with your parents, or is there something else behind it? So to really try to distinguish what is other people's issues and what is your own issue. And that is something I had to also learn, to be careful not to blame other people that they're not doing things right, but to look at yourself first. As I said, we're all responsible for ourselves first before we start going out and trying to change other people and blame other people. And with looking at yourself first, we also come to the topic of boundaries. Boundaries are something that a lot of people talk about when it comes to mental health, and I've heard it before, but I don't think I really understood it until I had to use it myself. When you look at yourself and you figure out, okay, I don't feel comfortable with maybe talking about this topic or doing this thing. And you realize that after you've kind of taken a look at yourself, you can now state that boundary. You can say, hey, I'm not comfortable with doing or talking about X, Y, Z. And if you want to, you can also say why that's not making you comfortable or why you don't want to do that. But also going a step further in the sense that if people don't respect your boundary, to restate your boundary. Maybe they've forgotten and you remind them and then change the subject. But if they just don't respect it, you are allowed to remove yourself from the situation physically. You're allowed to say, this is not making me feel comfortable, I'm sorry, I'm going to leave. Or you don't have to always answer, you don't have to play along, you don't have to go along with what other people are doing if you stated that this is not okay with you or you don't feel comfortable in this situation. And I think a lot of times it's with close relationships where the boundaries can get really blurry. So maybe you even feel like there shouldn't be any boundaries because it is such a close relationship. And it's definitely something I find the most difficult, setting boundaries, being clear on my boundaries. Also just protecting myself when the boundary is crossed and to remove yourself from the situation. I guess I just view setting boundaries as being inconvenient to someone, but in reality, by setting boundaries, you're being respectful towards yourself. You're honoring yourself and what you find okay and not okay. And other way around, we should also respect other people's boundaries. Now, these are just very few of the things that I've learned through therapy. I could sit here and go on and on about all the little details, but these were the top things that came to mind. I've had an amazing experience with therapy. It's helped me a lot. In the beginning, I sometimes also felt like maybe my, in a sense, problems weren't severe enough to go to therapy, but as I said, I believe that everyone can benefit from therapy. And what I'm trying to say is that no problem is too insignificant. You are also not too insignificant to deserve to have your problems dealt with. Some of us, I guess, just work better with an outside perspective, and you can just gain some more clarity. And I feel like the sooner, or at least for me personally, I'm really glad that I kind of had that low point where I was pushed towards therapy. Otherwise, I think I would have pushed it and felt like, yeah, I'll do that sometime. I know it's beneficial, but I'll do that sometime down the road. But I'm so happy that I did it this early in my life, I guess. And I guess it's also a form of self-care that I took care of myself. And now I have these, as I said, added tools in my toolbox that I feel like I can better cope with the difficulties of life when they come along. So I hope you found this helpful. If you feel like sharing what you resonated with, or if there was anything that was beneficial to you in this video, or anything that you've personally learned, for example, through therapy, then be sure to leave it in the comments down below. We can exchange ideas and help each other out. Like this video if you did. And subscribe. I do more on a lot of different topics, on finance, on minimalism, on healthy, nourishing foods, and I share my philosophy on life. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.